That's okay. All right. So competitive offer writing. I do have like a presentation. I've taught this class a couple times, but I'm not doing that today. I'm going to talk with my Delaware agreement of sale in front of me and go through that. And then I have this little worksheet for you guys, right? The presentation I will send anyway, just for notes to Connor, and he usually shares it with you guys. So the first thing I want to start addressing is that the best way to be competitive with offer writing is before you even look at the Delaware agreement of sale. And it's an area that I find agents don't put enough time and attention into. And that is gathering information about the listing from the listing agent and also the sellers from the listing agent before you even have this conversation, maybe even before you show the house. I like to have a game plan, and I like to know, I don't like to waste my time. And so before I'm even showing buyers' houses, can you come in? Oh, you come in. I'm not one of those crazy teachers, no, please. The more the merrier. Before I even go show houses, one, I am never leaving my house for one property. Maybe if it's like $1 million, because to schedule a couple $1 million properties in a day is a lot, right? One, they're time consuming to walk around usually, but two, that's, a lot. So, but if they're in what I call the regular, everyday Joe Schmo price points, somewhere between 150 and 4, I'm not leaving my house for like less than three showings in a day. Like, I need you to have something to compare, contrast, make a decision about. I'm not leaving my house for one showing. I'm not driving 30 minutes one way, staying there for 20, just drive 30 minutes back. Like, we're not doing that. So with that being said, before I even go to the showings, I like to try to have the seller's disclosures sent to my client. Now, whether they actually open it up and take a really good look at it or not my problem at that point. I did my due diligence and tried to provide you so we weren't wasting time, right? Also gives me opportunity to talk to a listing agent, because 9 times out of 10, listing agents do not upload the disclosures into Bright MLS like they should, so we can see them ahead of time. For example, sometimes they don't have enough pictures for you to be able to tell what the systems are in the house. Maybe they take pictures at really bad angles, and maybe it's baseboard, but we don't know if it's gas or electric. Maybe they didn't take a good enough picture of the stove or one at all. So we don't know if there's gas in the kitchen or not. That's very important. I have an electric cooktop right now because I wanted to live in a condo in a gated community, and it doesn't have gas in the building, which makes me want to cry because I cook a lot. I have learned how to do the electric cooking thing. I do not like it. When I decide where I want to reside for the rest of my life, I will make sure it has gas. However, I'm not going to show a buyer a house that has an electric stove and they want gas. Now, if they have the means and are okay with converting, or if I find out that's possible and they're okay with that, that's a different story. But first-time home buyers barely had enough cash to get in the house. We need grants. We need this. Obviously, we're not converting electricity to gas. You know what I mean? So I want to gather that up front. Before I show the house, I call a listing agent. Hey, disclosures weren't uploaded in Bright. Any chance I could get those before my showing tonight so I can go through it with my clients? Oh, why have you on the phone? Do you happen to have any offers in hand? Is there a lot of showings today? How motivated are your sellers to move? Would it be better if we put an offer in, with our traditional 30-day timeline? Do they need extra time? If we do have a quick close, are they going to need a rent back? What's their motivation for moving? Now you're going to combat a couple of things. For whatever reason, listing agents don't like to play nice in the sandbox with buyer's agents, which blows my mind, because how else are they going to sell the house? But they act like this is all private, confidential information. I'm always blown away when I ask these questions. I literally guess, why are you asking me that? So I can make sure I even want to bring my buyer to the house. 1, 2, because how am I supposed to write my offer and I have no idea what you need? Right? I want to write an offer to be chosen. I want to be picked, pick me culture, right? I do want to be picked. It is pick me culture for this, you know what I mean? Maybe in real life, I don't care, but when it comes to real estate, I want my offer picked. I'm trying to get a check. I want a check before I want a husband. It's very apparent, right? Yeah. So with that being said, that's why I'm asking these questions. And every time the listing agent gets crazy with me, it's how I respond. I'm like, well, because I want to write an offer. It's like here in Delaware, how many pages is it? It's 14 in Pennsylvania. It's 10 here, right? I don't want to fill out all this information. This is not Jersey. In Jersey, you can send an email, a proposal, right? Or a letter of intent. You can send an email and they'll say yes or no. And then the agreement of sale gets prepared. In Delaware and Pennsylvania, we got to fill this bad boy out and it just gets accepted, right? Accepted or rejected. I love New Jersey for that reason only. Rest of Jersey real estate, they can keep it, right? But the fact that you just send a little email like, hey, is this going to work? What do you think about this?
So is that binding?
Well, no, that's but it stops you from filling out 10 to 14 pieces of paper for no reason, right? So because in Delaware and Pennsylvania, you have to fill this long thing out. I want to try to get as much information. I want to weed out the property, right? And also I want to be able to start it competitively. And also, how cool of an agent are you when you have all this inside information about the property that wasn't on Zillow, Realtor.com, or wherever the hell they found it, right? Because we know they hit look in our Bright search we set up for them. You know that's not happening, right? So we want to know something about this property that the whole rest of the world didn't know. I'm not going to put the seller's motivation or I'm not going to put that information on the World Wide Web. So when you know that, you can call your client and be like, hey, I know we have these 4 properties to look at today, but I found out ABC about this one and DEF about that one and GHI about that. So before we even get in there, I just want to know that in order to have a competitive offer, they already have 4 in hand. Or maybe they have 0 in hand, but there is 18 showing. So we're not going to have 3 nights to think about this, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I get clients that always want a deal. They do not care that they have 5 offers in hand. They still want you to write up an offer for 50,000 below ask. And I'm like, did you just hear me? Said they have 5 offers in hand. I like to have that conversation before they even walk in the house. It's easier because you told them once before they walked in, before they fell in love, right? And then they walk into the house and they're going to do a little bit different of a walkthrough because now they're comparing what you said with what they're seeing versus just walking in and have nothing to compare. They don't have any background information.
So what if they want to put 50,000?
Listen, So I am, because I'm a pro coach and I cycle through like a couple hundred new agents a year and they go through my program. I have not forgotten, even though I've been doing this for a long time, what it feels like to be a new agent or newer agent and want to get into business and want to just try to throw the spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks, right? I totally get that. I'm never going to tell you what's right or what's wrong. It's what you're comfortable with. Just like I say, I'm not leaving the house to show one house. You might not be in a position where you want to take that risk and tell a client, well, I'm not leaving unless you pick another 2 or 3 houses. I'm at a point now where they might refuse on picking the 2 or 3 houses. And then I say, let me come pick you up because I'm picking 2 or 3 other houses that are in their price point and they're going anyway. They're kidnapped at that point. When you're new and you're not super savvy, I wouldn't really do that because they might call the cops on you. But I have like a swag now, if you will, right? Like, and I know who I can do that with and who I wouldn't try it, you know? But until you get to that point, so I'm not going to tell you don't write an offer. I tell clients, I'm not writing that. You're not embarrassing me. You're not embarrassing me.
So I think you have the personality where you can say that, and I think it just takes time to get there.
Listen, I get fired and I fire people. I've had people say, well, we're gonna go to another agent. By all means, it's not gonna get you the result. I said, do you want to buy a house or not want to buy a house? We want to buy a house. I just told you there's 4 offers in hand. They're all over ask. What makes you think you're so special that you're $25,000 under ask is gonna get this offer selected? And they're not gonna negotiate with you because they already have 4 other offers. $25,000 more than what you're trying to offer right now. So by all means, go. I said, it's gonna take me 30 minutes. I said, I could do 50 other things in 30 minutes. I have ADHD. I can do 100 things in 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely don't want to do this. I said, hell, the conversation's costing me more to make off this deal. Like, what are we doing right now? So don't worry about your personality. Don't worry about that. That comes with time. That also comes with like, not giving a shit after a certain amount of time, right? You gotta like a certain level of confidence where you're like, this is me, right? This is me, this is how we're doing things. And also when you have proof in the pudding, once you get time in and you have transactions in and you're doing you know that you can prove not just your value, but that your expertise in a certain area or just with real estate in general, you don't have to worry about that. And sometimes you fake it till you make it. Sometimes you fake it till you make it. But all your biggest chunk of being able to prepare this competitive offer comes with the research done ahead of time. And also I do look at disclosures. Even if I don't think my client did, I do. So when we're walking through the house and they see that there's water damage in the corner of the bathroom, but it's just the cosmetic part because they didn't go back and repaint or fix the drop ceiling or whatever yet. They fixed the repair and I can see that, but they just didn't do the cosmetic work. When the potential buyer is going, oh my God, we can't buy this house. There's an active leak. No, it's not. If you would have read the disclosures I sent you, it's fixed. They actually have the receipts. They just didn't do cosmetic work. So you just need to paint. So let's not throw the entire house away because there's some brown stain on the ceiling. But we know, I mean, if you've been doing this, there's clients like that. I always use the example of, this is why I stay out of a certain price point, because when you have husbands and wives walking through the house and you take them to 3 or 4 great houses and they are within their criteria and you can tell that the husband would take any of them and not care, but he's like, oh, whatever my wife wants, but she didn't like any of them because the color of the bathroom wasn't correct. Oh, I don't like to color the bathrooms. So we're just throwing this whole house away that checks off all your boxes because you can't understand you can paint. That's why I coach and I don't do the things anymore. Cause I would be very broke. If I had to do what you guys do every day and relied on it, I would be so broke. Cause I don't have that level of patience for regular people as I do you guys. Like I can do business to business. I'm a B2B, not a B2C, right? Business owners, we can talk like this. I can be all cheeky and talk very transparently. I cannot talk like this to a client. You think they're putting up with that? Very small percentage, right? So with that being said, you're gonna gather all this information because you also have to have I liked how, if you guys were here with I forget her name, the team leader that was sitting right here. And she goes, I really dig into my buyer's financial situation and really have a good grasp and know what that is before I even start working with them. How you gonna write offers and you don't really know what's going on? First of all, a lot of them lie. Usually they tell you something and then they go to get pre-approved and you find out a whole nother ballgame. Lives like, hell yeah, you know? Op City, if you've ever got like a Zillow Realtor Op City lead, oh, this is a premium 40% referral back to us, so they're pre-approved for 500,000. Said who? Now we're out here looking for $100,000 flip houses because no, okay.
I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with agents that I'm like breaking news to them about their clients.
Yeah. And the other thing is also, we can't help but to assume you get clients and you might know for a fact, oh, they're a doctor at UPenn. Happens in Philly all the time. They're a doctor at UPenn. Do you know the doctors at UPenn are broke? Do you know they don't?
Legitimate.
No, they're broke.
Legitimately, yeah.
What? Because first of all, doctors don't make as much their first few years in as you think they do. They barely make enough to pay back their student loans. So unless mommy and daddy or the government somehow paid for that for them, they are broke as a joke trying to pay those back. Secondly, they're immature. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're any more grown up at 21 years old than a regular 21-year-old. They don't know what to do with their money. So even what little bit of money they do have, they blow it. And also there's this extra pressure on doctors to hold up this certain status and wear certain clothes and drive certain cars and everybody thinks they're rich. They like to act rich before they are. They are in debt. Doctors are one of your worst clients. They suck.
And
They're like-
accountants, surprisingly.
Oh, yes.
Doctors and accountants.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Crazy. Attorneys for me are my worst client because even if they're not a real estate attorney, they swear to God, they know everything about real estate and they F up their own offers and deals and they want to scratch shit out. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. Right. So attorneys and doctors, the ones that you think, oh, they make all this money. I want them to be my client. No. Do you know who you want? A plumber that has a really good business, blue collar. I've not had any issues with like high level executives that are like more HR or management and stuff like that. Love them. Business owners, even though sometimes you got to get their accounting cleaned up or have them file a tax return or two, love them. They're practical. They're pragmatic, right? So that's what I like to deal with. So you need to do your research on the properties, expertise, and then know exactly what's going on. And you're only going to get that from the lender. You can call the lender. You're not asking for their social. You're saying, what is our legit purchasing power? They want to look at 300, but if that's not happening, I've had this happen before. Agent or the buyer was like, oh, we want to be in this neighborhood. It's between like 375 and 450. Okay, that's great. But the lender's like, they're only getting pre-approved for 299. So I didn't send them any properties in that neighborhood or any properties at the price point they wanted. And they were like, Tess, this is not what we want. And I'm like, well, I understand. I said, do you have a pile of money in your mattress that we need to start siphoning into your account? No. Are you getting a gift from a family member to cover your $200,000 deficit? And they said, what? I said, are you getting a gift from a family member to cover the $200,000 deficit between what you want and what you can afford right now? They hung up on me. They hung up on me hard. Flip. I was like, well, that was cute. I didn't leave my house though. I had a couple phone conversations, right? I did not leave my house. My research was done. I don't have to waste time writing any crazy offers. Do you know what happened? This is what really killed me. I have a very large team. And so they somehow got in touch with another girl that's on my real estate team. And she called me and she was like, hey, Tess, I have these new buyers. They want to start looking. She was so excited. She was like, 475. I said, so while I'm talking to her, let her talk on the phone, I send her the email with their 290 pre-approval. She was like, oh, I was like, yes. She was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I said, same thing I did. Tell them that until they come up with an extra $200,000, they have to look at these houses or they're not buying. And so I guess because she was the second one to tell them that, they took it better. And she's probably sweeter than me too. She probably said it much nicer. Right? And so she ended up closing. You know how pissed they were when they saw me, one, at settlement, two, my name on the agreement of sale that got, and found that I was still getting paid. I bet that checked their ass. I was happy. It made my day. I was like, see what happens when you don't wanna be logical? But anyway, so we do all this pre-work, if you will, because now when they find the house that they love and we open this bad boy up, we can start getting very competitive and we have all the knowledge we need. Because you know what's so frustrating when you're trying to write an offer and you keep calling your client back and forth because you didn't ask all the information up front, so you can't just fill this out and send it to them. You gotta look like a dumbass and be like, oh, I'm sorry to call you again. Listen to yourself. I'm sorry to call you again. It's your client. You know, like either go through it together or get all the info up front. No, go look through this, read it through a couple times, right? So we have the little parties, that's fine, whatever. Property purchase price, obviously, that's the big one, right? But it's not always the most important, which is why gathering all that information up front. So purchase price is super important. That top number, it's what makes the seller sees it first, the listing agent sees it first, and either wows them or they're like, okay, right? Deposits. People put more weight on this. People meaning listing agents and sellers put more value and weight on the deposit than you want to believe. And the only reason why you don't want to believe it is because everyone's broke and nobody saves money and they don't have $10,000 to put down for a deposit. Do not skimp on your deposit. We do not put $500 down on a $300,000 house. I'm gonna tell you a couple reasons why. Number one reason why, if you have a person out here shopping for a $300,000 house and they're hard pressed to come up with $500, Liz, that loan's defaulting in less than 6 months.
Not even, yeah.
Not even, right?
Yeah.
They're pretending to buy a house because it's not gonna be theirs very long. That's not doing you a service because guess who they're gonna blame? They sure as hell aren't taking accountability. If they were accountable adults, they wouldn't be that fucked up in the game in the first place. You know what I mean? They're gonna go 1-star Google review you because you helped them buy a house they couldn't afford. No one is going to say, oh, you know, that's my bad. You know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna happen. You had your hand up.
Is it okay to suggest, once you know that they don't have the deposit, to go down about $25,000 or more below their max budget?
I mean, that or you tell them to wait. They're just not supposed to buy right now. I would respect someone a lot more that said, hey, Tess, I know you can afford the monthly payment right now, but the deposit amount and the closing costs is going to kill you right now. So how about we just wait another 6 months? You save up a little bit more money. You have a little bit more in reserves because reserves is the next thing that will come up on. Now, I don't think all loan products need reserves, just a couple, right? Like a couple.
Not all, but most.
Most of it, yeah, they'll look for reserves. So if we don't have that, what are we even doing? Do you know how much it sucks to get all the way through this and at the end, the lender be like, we can't close because they only have $2 in their account, right? That's annoying. That's so much time. Maybe they paid for an inspection, like, oh my God, that's so annoying, right? So it's not our job to force people into purchasing a home. It is your job to assist those who are ready to buy, who have purchasing power, and then to let the ones who are not quite ready to nurture them until they are. There is no shortcut. You were in class, were you in class when Sharice was arguing with me about tapping into people's 401k?
Oh, yeah.
Got into a huge argument with one of my PC agents. Essentially what it was is she felt a little butthurt because I said, stop having your first thing you tell your people is, oh, you can just use your 401k. That has long-term effects and damages on their financial health. That's supposed to be retirement money. Now, if you have a dire need to put a roof over your head, and, you know, renting ain't it, because you can't really tap in your 401k to rent, but they will let you tap in to purchase a home, so be it. But if your way of getting clients is telling people, advertising, oh, let's use your 401k money, let's use your 401k money, you're not doing anyone a service. And she's like, well, that's what I did. And I said, well, I'm sorry, your agent told you to do that. She's like, well, I didn't have $15,000. I was like, well, I'm also sorry your agent didn't help you find any grant money or help you get into a position in a house that was actually affordable to you and told you to go tap in your 401k. You're a single mom. I know what you do for a living. You should have saved that. You should have waited. I said, were you going to be homeless? Well, no. Well, what you yelling at me for? You know, it's about helping people make great decisions and bettering their situation, not just shoving them into a house. Go be a slumlord, you wanna do that, just shove them into a space and take their rent money. That's not what we're doing here. You're not gonna have longevity. Especially here in Delaware. Delaware's 100 miles long and 50 miles wide. You can only F up so many times in this state, nobody's talking to you, personally or professionally.
Is it really 100 by 50?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like a car person and I love zip zooming all over the state. I have been from top to bottom, every crack and crevice in my car all over this place. No, it doesn't take long at all. I probably did it in a day. I probably didn't come home at curfew and got yelled at for it, but that's the worst I did in high school. I was literally like the golden child except for the speeding tickets. And I made the entire family's car insurance bill go through the roof. Right? But deposits are important. And you should not just be finding out how broke your clients are when you're going to write an offer. You messed up so many times. You're so far behind. The 8 ball's not even in the room. Yeah.
Is that something that the lender would tell you too? Like, hey, like you're at 300,000, but you might want to go a little low on the deposit because cash is tight.
So not all lenders are created equal. And
Worth
maybe
asking at least.
if you ask, they should tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ask, I'm not gonna sit here and say all lenders are so awesome, they're gonna be like, just think to tell you this information. You know, the lenders I work with are pretty
I guess
transparent.
what I'm asking is like, do they check that in the beginning? Because I know that they run everything like right before we're about to actually close. So it's like that, is that when they would find that out or would they know?
Again,
We would
they,
know at pre-approval.
That's what I'm,
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
would think.
they can see, they see everything. They have the statements, the balances. It's just not everyone is that transparent. And I'm not saying they're a good lender or a bad lender. Some lenders are super busy because they're great and they might not think in your specific transaction, your moment to give you a heads up about something.
Right.
But if you ask, they will for sure tell you. Yeah, for sure. And I would ask, it would be I'm really big about systems and writing them down and having like checklists, even if it's not like on paper like this, it's in my little Google Drive, like when, were you in here for the team leader thing? Okay. Well, having like a, handbook or your systems, either digital or on paper, game changer. And, I always thought I was a pretty smart girl, got straight A's, did well in college, all the things, and I did not put my life or my businesses on paper until probably like this last 7 years. Game changer. And people would say, if you write your goals down, you'll actually achieve them. They said that was bullshit. I was like, what does it matter with one piece of paper? I'm here to tell you right now, game changer. So you won't forget. So if every time you're doing a buyer consultation or every time you get to a certain point of transaction, you have a checklist for that phase, if you will, and you're like, bam, 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 a lot less likely you're gonna screw up, right? So ask all the questions. Again, we're not asking for social security numbers. So all that information is necessary for you to do a good job here. So the deposit amount, also, if you want to give a big deposit and you are asking for inspections, don't be crazy and give it all to them before the inspection is done. Break it up. You have extra lines here. You have deposit due within X amount of days, and additional deposit, if any, due within blank days of acceptance. And again, because I coach, I get this question all the time. Well, how do we know how many days to put here if we break up our deposit? How many days did you give yourself to get the home inspection? 14, did you do the standard 14? It's 14 in Delaware, right?
Yes.
Yes, the default days on here for your inspection period is 14 days. It's 10 in Philly. So if that was the case, and let's say the house is, I don't know, 250, and we want to put 10,000 down to make our offer very strong. They're gonna get 5,000 upon acceptance of this agreement. And I'm gonna say due within 17 days of acceptance, you'll get the other 5. And you wanna know why 17 is good? Because if your inspections have to be done within 14, if you're a good agent, you're gonna get them done within like 10 anyway, right? You're gonna have time to talk it over, send a response and tell the listing agent what you want fixed or what credits you want, and it gives them time to respond, and you still have time to either not give it if we're not moving forward, right? Or to go ahead and give it up if everything's good, right? So I'm gonna say about 17 days.
So if it falls apart because of the inspection, then you can offer that.
You don't have the full 10 in their hands, they only have 5.
Buyer would get it back.
The buyer does get it back, but who's to say how long it's gonna take to get them back? Because the one thing I don't like about this is it doesn't say how many days it has to be returned within. Now, you can write it in your contract. You can say, you know what I mean? you don't want, if this offer right now gets rejected and your people are in a time crunch, I need that money back, because we gotta go use it for the next house. So I'm not giving it all up.
Fire gets told, whatever, at the inspection or something, do they still owe the 10 or just the 5?
So if you have the inspection contingency, it doesn't matter if the inspection came back like with minute little stupid stuff that me and you could go fix, they can still use that
That's all.
contingency.
There.
Yeah,
No.
then you're just using your inspection contingency, and you do have to give over the copy of the report, but you don't have to necessarily say what specifically caused them to want to back out. Yeah, Yeah.
Somebody want to figure
Yeah.
out.
yeah, you do not have to say like, oh, because of the roof, we want to use our inspection contingency to terminate this deal. You could just say, we are electing to use our inspection contingency to terminate this deal, period. Now, will the listing agent get a little butthurt and demand more information and tell you you're a shitty agent? Absolutely, but you don't have to. Nope, and you're not a shitty agent just because they want to make you feel like that. You're protecting your client, you're doing a good job. It's not their business. This is contingency they elected, and that's what they're allowed to do. So,
That's another reason too, to do inspections quickly, because
Yes.
sometimes the lender won't order the appraisal until the inspections are done.
well, I yell
God
at
forbid
my,
something.
yeah, I tell my lenders, like, please don't order that appraisal until we give you the okay from, because also I don't want my client paying another $500. They just paid $500 to $600 for the inspection. I don't want them paying another $600 for the appraisal and we're not buying the house. So again, when you're having conversations up front before we're even writing this offer, you can, especially if you're having a new relationship, your lender doesn't know you, right? You're gonna say, hey, just for our relationship's sake, like, I'll give you the okay. Now, don't do your lender dirty and forget, and then blame it on them that they can't close on time because you forgot to tell them to go ahead and order the appraisal. So you have
And
to be
don't do like
accountable.
a 30-day closing, not tell us until 2.5 weeks into the process.
Exactly, like, you gotta do, as soon as that inspection is good and you know what type of time you're on, you need to communicate that, you gotta take a little bit of accountability, right? So then we get in here, inclusions and exclusions. Now I'm just gonna make a very generalized blanket statement. Real estate agents do not pay enough attention to inclusions and exclusions. They do not have thorough enough conversations with their sellers or buyers. Inclusions and exclusions, especially at certain price points and with certain types of materials and paintings and items in the house, can be a really good contingency, right? If you know that you're touring an estate sale and it's full of shit, meaning furniture and other people's things, but that person has passed away and now it's the family's responsibility to clean it out. If you write in your offer that they're willing to purchase the house as is with all the furniture in there and they don't gotta worry about that, even if your offer is a little lower, you're saving that family time and a shit ton of hassle and money. Also, they don't gotta go dig through their dead family member's shit and get saved. You know what I mean? That's like invaluable. I'm serious, you guys think I'm crazy. It can win a deal. Them not having to clean out that house and make it broom swept, as it says in here, so valuable. So you might have $5,000 less or $10,000 less on the top line, but you said you don't have to clean the house out. We'll take it just like that. Just grab your clothes and your toothbrush and you can get out, right? Valuable. So this is another point of competitive offer writing. It's in these finite details, right? Also, I know people always use like the chandelier and the foyer, and maybe it says it's not included, you know what I mean? But sometimes people don't think, do you know how expensive it is to take that chandelier and go move it somewhere else? Do you know how risky it is and that something probably will get broke because you can't trust people to do a good job? Movers are not awesome. Hate that, but they're not.
You put that in like the line where you stand like fire is willing to take traffic as it is.
Yep, and there's also here in Delaware is a little better than PA when it comes to it, because you guys, PA does not have all those little check boxes, right? So we can't get nitty gritty with it. We just have to like list it out, but you guys also have extra lines here. Yep, yeah, 1000% you can put it here. Yes, yep, Maryland is like that too. So then you get into your rental and lease space. Now that for on the buyer side, is not so much about competitive offer writing, but when you are a listing agent, being very transparent, or being willing to take steps to get rid of tenants or pay off stuff. What I will tell you is that you can't do much about tenants because they have laws that protect them, but this, property is not subject to third-party rental lease agreements. If there are solar panels on the house, it can be such a pain. You need to know if they're paid off or not. Also, you cannot assume that the new buyer can assume the loan for those solar panels. Also, do not assume that your buyer can go get approved for the solar panel loan without talking to your lender, because if their DTI is too tight and they go get this loan, now they are gonna own solar panels on a house they don't own, right? So we can't do that. If they received offers and all their offers said that the new buyer is not willing to assume the responsibility of solar panels, in other words, they need to get removed, but you have buyers that are like, no, we'll go through this, let's talk to our lender, let's see what we need to do. Now your offer is better than everyone else's, and it still has nothing to do with that top line, right? It's about the ease of the sale and the transition. The conveyancing is so much easier now. And it's in these little finite details. There might be one time I had a few years ago, there was a hot tub that was financed. It was a really fancy one. It was one that was like halfway in the ground and half out. It was like almost like a built-in hot tub, if you will, right? And so it wasn't paid for yet, and they wanted to sell the house. And so it came up to where thank God that the financing for the hot tub was transferable if they qualified.
That's how solar panels are too. So if the house, if
Yeah.
the roof has solar panels, you have to approve the house and you have to approve the solar panels.
Yeah, so, but that is another, like I said, competitive offer writing piece, and like very savvy, smart agents think about these things. And if it's not gonna be super apparent right here, when you write that email with all your documents attached, like, hey, Mr. Listing Agent, here's my client's offer, and you do your little summary, asterisk, please note, we are willing to blah, blah, blah. We are also willing to da, 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 right? You know, that kind of thing it makes it super awesome. Then we get into one of the other more prevalent parts of the offer writing and competitive offer writing, financing contingency. Again, and by no means am I talking about Liv, because she's like super awesome, but not all mortgage lenders and brokers and officers are created the same. Just because you have someone come to you with an FHA approval does not mean they could not be conventional. Either they didn't ask or think about it, or they said one specific thing to that mortgage person, like, we just want to make sure we have the lowest rate. So knowing that the mortgage lender gave them a product that was going to give them the lowest rate, there might have been no further conversation about what's actually going to be best for them long term. Maybe their payment could be lower one way or the other. Maybe they didn't have an in-depth conversation about their down payment amount. Was going to be 3.5%, 5%. Maybe they can afford 5 or 10% down, and that will lower everything else for them. You can't assume that they had such an in-depth conversation, because if you didn't take the time to have that conversation with them and they're your client, what makes you think the lender is going to have that conversation with them? So when it comes to competitive offer writing, just because you have FHA in front of you or conventional in front of you, or even VA, I'm a veteran. I have never used my VA loan. I literally hate VA loans. I don't even want that bullshit. I've never used it. I probably will never use it. One, there's a stigma around it. Sellers and listing agents don't want to fuck with it. So to me, it's not a benefit to me to get a VA loan. The 100% financing, I would rather pay the 3.5 and have my offer accepted and move into my house. I've never purchased a home with my VA loan, and I'm a veteran. I'm a wounded veteran. I got a whole scar that goes from my belly button to my back from getting shot. Still didn't use it. They can take that and give me something else. They could have paid for a master's degree instead of a bachelor, and made me happier. You know what I mean? Something like that. But just because what you have in front of you, so don't be afraid to ask questions, right? Also, if you know that your client can switch to conventional or FHA, submit your offer with the FHA, because that's kind of like the lesser, right? That's how people look at it anyway. It's not my thoughts or beliefs, but that's what it is. But you can put in your thing, if need be, buyer is capable of switching to conventional, right? It's okay to say that. It's not everything's cookie cutter. Not everything has to be black and white. You look stunned right now. Like, I didn't think I could do that.
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
was stunned when you get shot.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Mhm.
gross.
What do they say? Right place, wrong time, something like that. But, so your terms, as far as your financing contingency, like, make sure you've explored and exhausted all options. I knew I was gonna be going over the time here with that. Something else real tiny right under this. Oh, your commitment date. That's so easily missed. It's also missed on the PA agreement of sale all the time. It's this little tiny line above. We have a mortgage box in Pennsylvania, and the box you think would stand out, all my agents forget to fill it out. I don't know if the box makes them go, oh, I don't need to do that, or whatever. I don't know what the hell happens up there, but every time I get, huh?
I was saying, is this so?
It is small, but I'm just like, guys, how are they paying for this? Right? How are we paying for this? But the commitment date. Now, this is something you need to talk to your lender about. depending on what process they went through to get them pre-approved, they might be able to pop out a commitment really soon because they did all their due diligence. So you might be able to put within, maybe, and if you know your client, be like, listen, if we put this offer and it's accepted, you gotta go finish your shit with Liv tomorrow. So I'm putting 1 day right here, so don't play around. And then your commitment day is literally in 7 days, because we're trying to let this seller know that we're committed, we're serious, and also we're ready to go, right? You don't have to get ready if you already, right? Okay? So that is super important. That's a great way to write a competitive offer. When you just use all the defaults and all the standard, you didn't work hard. You did not think outside the box. There's defaults here for a reason. Offer, dun, dun, dun. Right? So you did not work hard. So know that every single thing is negotiable. We got that big NAR lawsuit settlement because we wanted to act like stuff wasn't negotiable, mainly our commissions. Okay, got us in a little bit of trouble, everything on here is negotiable. Right? So, and everything can be negotiated for the advantage of your client, whether it's the seller or the buyer. Go through here, settlement, obviously, when I said call the listing agent and find out what the seller needs, find out what the seller needs. That is to do with the settlement date. If that seller needs to get out of Dodge quickly, then you need to talk to your lender. Can we do a 21-day close? If you have a cash offer, you just need to talk to the attorney here in Delaware. It's title of it in Pennsylvania. How fast can we close this? See, how fast can we, get this done? And if the attorney's like, oh, it's cash, I can get you done in 12 days. I'm trying to do a 14-day close. I don't trust them. I still need extra days, right? I'm always adding a little padding, but a 14-day close is super quick, right? So again, your top line might not be all that in a bag of chips, but you're giving the seller something that's even more important. They don't want to have to make 2 mortgage payments and they got to go. Maybe they're military like I was and they got a PCS somewhere. They don't have to pay 2 mortgage payments. So you're solving problems for them, right? It's not all about that bottom line all the time. So settlement date is super important. I still don't know why Delaware makes you put what county, because there's only 3, and also when you're an attorney in the state of Delaware, it's not county specific, and who cares, but whatever, I always wondered why they did that. We have in fee simple. Another little thing, which you really have to be super nitpicky and maybe excited to do this, look over this so much, but you have the escrow broker's notice and disbursement process based on passage of time. If there's a dispute, it used to be 180, so I'm glad they shortened it, but it's 60 days now for the dispute resolution period or whatever. I like to put 30.
Me too.
I put 30 days. I'm not waiting 60 for nothing. If it was my money, I wouldn't want to have to wait 60 days for no damn reason other than this piece of paper says so. And I think that's more attractive for both sides. I don't think the seller wants to be held up. I don't think that the buyer wants to be held up. If your buyer's like, listen, I'm not trying to wait 5 days. Boom. That's very minute little detail. It gets looked over a lot. That's one blank that's usually left the way it is, but I think it's really important. Transfer taxes in Delaware and also Pennsylvania and in Maryland is typically split. All states is typically split. Seller and buyer 50-50. Huge negotiating point. Buyer will pay. If you're representing the buyer will pay. If they want the house that bad, right?
In Cecil County, you're exempt as a first-time home buyer from.
In Delaware, you get what, half percent?
Depends the county, but.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
exempt, and some of the things that we've done. You have to pay it, but you're a first-time home buyer.
Exactly.
Why don't we pay it for the seller?
Yes.
That's actually.
Yes, that is exactly, you did a really great job. That's very competitive. And again, we're talking about like, when you have a client that found a house they absolutely love, and you're trying to do whatever you possibly can to get this house for them. This is not a every offer situation or whatever. On the other side, when you have a buyer that wants housing, but is a little cash challenged, obviously getting a seller to pay for transfer tax is a huge help, because that lowers their closing costs by, 2%. Well, what is it down here now? Is it 4% in Delaware?
Wilmington's 4%.
Yeah, Wilmington's 4%, and it's the same, it's a little over 4% in Philadelphia, so it's like 2.147, some bullshit each side, but like, yeah, it's like really expensive, right? So that saves them a lot of money. Am I doing good timing? Oh yeah, we're almost done. Wonderful. The next is, we're just gonna talk about all of the inspection contingencies together, right? Now, I need people to stop doing for informational purposes only.
Thank you.
For the love of God, one, don't set yourself up to get into an icky situation with your buyers. I don't give a fuck what the buyers say. They do not want that inspection for informational purposes only. The only way I may believe that is if my buyer is an investor and he is the developer or owner of a general contracting company himself, and he just wants to get the inspection so he knows what his checklist to do to fix that house is. If that's not your buyer, very specifically, do not believe them when they say, we get the inspection for informational purposes only. Something's gonna come back on that report and they're gonna be pissed and they're gonna tear you up about having to buy a house that's got something wrong with it when they said in the agreement, and there's no.
So if they, one of the things I told them too, if they
Yeah.
don't have informational purposes only, have it after you buy it. Then
Yeah.
you can have it.
I'm
But if you're
not
really-
doing, like I said, at this point in my career, I'm not putting myself in a situation. It's a lose-lose for you. It is a lose-lose for you. Because even if something doesn't pop up right now, as soon as something breaks 3 months later in the house, they're gonna call you before they use common sense and call a contractor. They call their realtor. The pipe just burst and they said that the pipes were old and you said you either didn't want an inspection or you wanted it for informational purposes only and you ignored it. I don't want to hear you right now. You know what I mean? But they will go 1-star Google review your ass so fast.
I had a client, I made her sign both the waiver and the, inspection protection, so we knew it was there. And I put it as part of my offer, like she's aware of the inspection and she waived it.
Yes.
Um,
You gotta have that. No,
And they still come back at you.
Yes.
Yeah. Stop writing offers when you know it's FHA and not marking yes for wood destroying insect inspection, because you have to have it. You have to. Right? And so if you're FHA and you mark this no, but you still ordered it because you had to, and then God forbid there's termites, guess who has to pay for it? Before, and they have to get it taken care of before they go to closing. So they have to pay for termites on a house they don't own yet.
And it has to be inspected.
Yes, and they gotta pay for that. So in competitive offer writing, it's more like, let's be very, I hope the gist you're catching is, we gotta be a little bit more thorough. And think big picture and not just be so, not like the Amish horses we see like over here in Lancaster County and they only see like right here in front of them. We gotta look at this whole big picture, right? Home inspection, same thing. Also, don't be the lazy agent that if you know your client wants inspections, you just say yes to every single inspection. You look like an asshole because not all houses have septic. So what are we getting a septic inspection for? Oh, well, that's how I was taught. Okay, well, somebody could teach you to jump off bridges. How many times you gonna do that? You know what I mean? With no parachute too. Let's do that, you know? No, it's, each inspection matters. Well water contingency, are we gonna mark that if there's no well? Probably not. Radon, does your house have a basement? I'll be honest, unless it has a basement or lower split level, lower under subsurface, subterranean living, if you will, I'm getting radon. I sold a house up here, off of, Weldon Road about 4 years ago now. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because the man and his parents who own this home, they all were moving down south for health reasons. His father got the most horrible case of dementia. His mom got some crazy type of cancer. And then, the young man and his partner had moved down and to live in the basement once his parents needed to be surface level because they were in wheelchairs and shit. Everyone in the house was getting sick. When we went to sell the house and the buyers did their radon inspection, it was so bad that EPA came out and put rope around the house until they got it fixed. That's how bad the radon was right here in North Wilmington. And that was the cause for all these people being sick. So they lived in the home for almost 30 years and never got a radon test 30 years ago, hadn't had one in the last 30 years and didn't realize their house was literally killing them. So if you don't get a home inspection, and because you want to make your offer competitive and your buyers are okay with that, I would say probably if there's a basement, don't. And if they do want to not get that, tell them they still need to get it for their own health, because I was shocked. I lived here in Wilmington and ran business and have owned homes here for almost 17 years, and I would have never thought.
Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer right behind tobacco.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And obviously swimming pool, I love when I see swimming pool contingency marked off and there's no pool. So a listing agent will lose confidence in your ability to get to the table I've had these conversations as a listing agent in Philadelphia, the offer is such trash and they didn't pay attention to it. I'm like, listen, even though it's the top number, I highly doubt we're gonna make it to the settlement table because this agent isn't gonna be able to get us there. I can't even trust what they've sent. I don't even know who the hell this lender is. I don't know anything. And we've not selected higher offers because of that. So don't think that the way you're filling this out is not gonna affect how that agent and that seller view you. So yeah, maybe something as silly as marking off a swimming pool contingency, and sellers gonna be like, we don't even have a pool. Right? And it makes them think when you do stuff like that too, it makes your buyer look like they're looking for any reason to back out. They're not really sure if they even want the house. Does that make sense? It seems a little nitpicky, right? But I'm telling you, it happens. That's the only reason why. Like in the back of my head, I'm like, stupid. But like, it literally is a legit thing that happens every day, right? Also, your time periods in Delaware, they give you so many days. There's 30 days for septic, there's 15 days default for all these other extra inspections. Number one, for the love of God, make them all line up. Do not have separate dates for each individual inspection. You'll fuck it up. You'll get out of contract, okay? Secondly, it's very confusing to the seller and the listing agent, and they're like, we're not dealing with this, right? Also, in Delaware, you get a lot of time. I can get all these inspections done in like 5 or 6 days and get my response on like the 7th, right? And if I can do that in the city of Philadelphia, which is not, it's not always sunny in Philadelphia, it is crazy up there, you guys can do that down here in Delaware. I don't know who, anybody use Prospect, I'm gonna give them a shameless plug, because I love that company, one, the reports are awesome, and two, they'll literally just go anywhere for any time, like you can call them today, be like, is there any way? And they're like, oh, our schedule's will full, are you sure? Okay, let's, you know, you just pissed off some inspector because they'll literally personally call them and say, your day's gonna be longer tomorrow, right? But I love getting that done really fast, and that makes your offers look a lot better even with inspections. You're like, look, you're gonna know in 5 days what's going on versus 15. Yes, yep, yeah, they can take care of, I think they do, I don't think they do pool. I think they do and septic, they do some
No,
part
they
of
do
the
pool.
septic. Prospect does pool? Oh, well, that's new. Back in the day, they did not. So yes, they can do more than I thought. I know they don't do the full septic, like the septic thing you have to, when they have the company come out and like literally open up this. I don't think they do that. I think they will do like biome testing or like what's in your water and in the septic, or if they can tell if it's like super full or not. But I know they don't do the same in-depth septic, on-site water septic thing that's on here. There's one that they don't do, but I'm glad they do panel. That makes it easier. Let me see, 3 minutes. Obviously broker compensation, seller's concession, that's another big thing. I would not be afraid to ask for seller's assistance. Now, I wouldn't be afraid to ask for it.
Are you going above?
If you go above, especially, right? Even if not, when you do call listing agents, you ask them for all this information about